Looks like this is the final teaser for episode 5, and tomorrow we're finally getting that long-awaited trailer. This new teaser basically pulls everything together. We've got mobster Pomni, Hunter Jax, sporty Regatha, and of course Kinger from the Mafia teaser. As for Zubul and Gangle, their looks are still a mystery to me. And then there's Kane, breaking through the digital wall, watching all of it unfold. The corn doesn't surprise me anymore, but that floating head? Yeah, that's seriously unsettling, but now I'm fully convinced. Tomorrow we're getting the trailer for episode 5, no doubt. It's like this teaser is the final confirmation. But what if Jax? Guns. Again with the guns. Maybe that's a hint at episode 6? Lately, more and more fans have been buying into the theory that all these recent teasers aren't just connected to episode 5, but to the rest of the upcoming episodes too. And in this video, I want to break down how likely that theory really is, and also try to lay out the possible episode order if it turns out to be true. Though honestly, even one little leak from Goose could completely shut this theory down. First, let's do a quick recap. We got that dark, cryptic teaser, which probably isn't pointing to anything super major. Then came Jax in the Savannah, then Pomni in the office, and finally we got the long-awaited softball theme. Just 2 days later, we were hit with the Mafia setup. That's when most fans started feeling the confusion, because none of these teasers really connect. They all show totally different settings and events. The big mystery now is how Glitch and Gooseworx plan to tie all of this into one single episode. Sure, some teasers might just be memories of past adventures, but the fact that Pomni shows up in almost every teaser pretty much breaks that theory apart. There's also a theory that all these adventures are actually part of one big storyline within episode 5, and honestly, that feels like the most solid explanation, especially when you remember that someone once asked Gooseworx, is there any TADC episode that's going to be slightly, or even significantly, shorter than the average 23 to 25 minutes? And Goose straight up replied, there's one that ended up being really long, but I'm not going to say which one it is. What if that longer episode is episode 5? If that's the case, then it makes total sense that all these teasers belong to the same episode, and the reason they feel so random is because of that wish box shown at the start of episode 4. But at the same time, what if some fans are right and these teasers do actually point toward all the remaining episodes? If we step back from everything we've talked about so far, it's totally possible that Glitch is using these teasers to hint at future episodes, just like they did back in February last year when they dropped that Season 1 announcement, and sneakily gave us pieces of episodes 2, 3, and 4. But even then, one big question pops up. Why didn't they do the same thing this time for Part 2 of Season 1? Instead, they showed us scenes from new adventures through random Twitter teasers. Way too many questions, but the answers are definitely coming real soon. As you can probably tell, there's really nothing solid besides fan theories suggesting these teasers belong to different episodes, while everything else is basically screaming that The Office, the Savannah, the Stadium, the Mafia, and even that creepy dark teaser are all part of one massive episode 5. But let's at least try to figure out what the episode order could look like if I'm wrong. And all these teasers really do reveal the plots of the upcoming episodes. It'd be easy to just say they go in the order they were shown. This teaser equals episode 5, that one's episode 6, and so on. But come on, that'd be total nonsense. I'm actually convinced that that image was just meant to let us know episode 5 is dropping soon. Meanwhile, everything for the longest time has been pointing straight at softball being the core of episode 5. Episode 6, though, that was way trickier because Jax showed up as the main character in 2 different teasers. And yeah, I gotta say sorry for throwing y'all off at the beginning of the video when I said the Savannah would be in episode 6. Now I'm more than sure that the bar and mafia theme will be the real focus of episode 6. Why? Because we know episode 5 is going to be calm, and after that, chaos kicks in. And what better way to launch chaos in the digital circus than with a full-on mafia setup in a bar? Plus, remember that post from Gooseworx where she mentioned there'd be a very specific kind of joke in episode 6? Once again, that fits perfectly with the Mafia vibe. Episode 7 most likely continues the story from episode 6, so the wild energy from Jax should still be going strong, which makes the Savannah theme a perfect match for that episode. I think everyone already knows that Season 1 of the Digital Circus is going to have 9 episodes, which means Episode 8 has to seriously crank up the heat, and this teaser fits perfectly for that, because what could hit harder than seeing Pomni back in the exact same office she worked at in the real world before getting pulled into the circus? And Kane's reaction in that moment would totally make sense too. But what do you think about all this? Which theory makes more sense to you? I'd love to hear your take in the comments. Seriously, can't wait to read them. And as you've probably noticed, there's kinda a lot of Jax in all these teasers. Maybe Glitch is setting us up for something big involving his character? Let's dive deeper and figure out what we might be in for when it comes to Jax in the next episode. If we look at the overall arc of Jax's character development, it's clear that episodes 5 and 6 promise to be intense, especially for him. Let's begin by analyzing Jax's character evolution as seen in episode 3. Jax was really unhappy from the moment he got tied up, and his return to the digital circus wasn't as cheerful as in the previous episode.
Don't ever call us that again.
When Kane said they couldn't go back to the digital circus without Pomni and Kinger, Jax's frustration only grew. It's like he just doesn't get why he has to wait for the others or why anyone's telling him what to do. Pomni and Kinger's adventure went on for about 5 minutes, and since there were almost no cuts, that means about 7 to 10 minutes passed in the digital circus. And during that time, Jax's expression just got more and more annoyed. Jax couldn't care less about how the others' adventure went, because his main issue at that moment was that he didn't get to mess with anyone or have any fun with his chaos in the new adventure. Plus, Ragatha's words about how everyone is worried about Pomni didn't sit well with Jax at all. He made it clear that he doesn't care how anyone feels. Also, the final scene is definitely worth mentioning.
So what was it like being stuck with the nutcase?
It wasn't that bad, actually.
Approaching Pomni with his usual sarcasm, Jax was definitely expecting a response like, "That was just awful, he's really a nutcase," or "What's the point of talking to him when he doesn't get anything? He almost destroyed me." But when he got a positive response instead, Jax realized that his jokes and teasing weren't landing like they used to, and that really upset him. We've sorted out how much Jax changed in episode 3. Now it's important to note the key events of Jax in episode 4. For the first time, we see Jax genuinely not wanting to cause any harm to Gangle. This really caught me off guard, especially considering all the previous episodes and the countless situations involving not just Gangle, but the other characters too. The old Jax would have just laughed it off and said something like, "Oh well, you're not mad, are you? Not that I care." But from the very first seconds of this episode, we're shown that Jax has started to change for the better. And now it's time for the most epic and mind-blowing part, Spudsy's adventure itself. Right from Jax's very first scene, his usual confidence seemed shaken, and it became clear that something big was about to happen with him. Even though the start of the new adventure seemed pretty ordinary for Jax, what happened next completely shook him to the core. Just look at how utterly confused he is. He can't even find the words to respond. It feels like Jax's world literally fell apart in that moment. And when Gangle announced his list of tasks, it became crystal clear to everyone, including Jax himself, that this episode would showcase a sort of revenge, something Gangle practically admitted outright. This is further confirmed in the following scene.
Oh, I hate this guy.
Never say you hate the customer while the customer is still here. Oh, we wait until after hours for that?
Looking at Jax's unhappy, no, downright distressed expression in the moment he realized this was just the beginning of a nightmare bound to have irreversible consequences for his mental health. Remember the old Jax, who never cared about anyone's approval or support? Now he's actually approaching Zooble, someone he doesn't even have the best relationship with, to try and convince her to ditch work too. This scene speaks volumes about how much Jax has changed. It's as if all his confidence has evaporated, leaving behind someone who might even be afraid of Gangle. Sounds ridiculous, right? But that's the reality Jax is stuck in, a reality that's slowly driving him insane and pushing him further into a depressive state. The fact that time seems to drag on infinitely longer than Jax would like only makes things worse. Even though he's trying to maintain his trademark, unshakable demeanor, it's glaringly obvious that the spark we're used to seeing in him is fading, bit by bit. For the first time, Jax genuinely looks scared, truly terrified by everything happening around him. He's confused by what's going on with him, and shaken by the thought of what Gangle might come up with now that she has more power than usual. He's frightened and undeniably upset about this whole adventure. And yet, it's not even over. By this point, Jax already realizes that things are only going to get worse, and unfortunately for him, he's completely right. All of this completely unravels Jax, and if we compare how he used to get angry versus how it manifests now, we can confidently add another piece of evidence to our growing case for Jax's broken mental state. He's no longer able to control his emotions, and it's heartbreaking to witness. The ultimate proof of his shattered psyche, and the looming possibility of a full-blown depression, is found in one of the final scenes featuring him. It's hard to believe that Jax is now talking to Pomni like this, especially given how he first met her. Even Pomni seems surprised by this sudden turn of events. Just look at how relieved Jax is to finally be done with that awful shift. You've really captured the essence of Jax's transformation in this episode. Seeing him as a lost and insecure character, grappling with the weight of his past actions and fearing retribution, definitely added a new layer to his persona. It's clear that while we didn't fully witness a depression in this episode, the foundation for it was laid. Now we've fully understood how Jax's character has developed throughout the episodes, and it's time to discuss what might be in store for this amusing purple rabbit in the upcoming episodes. As I mentioned earlier, episodes 5 and 6 will focus equally on Jax and Regatha, and it's highly likely that their story arcs will develop together, which makes sense given their apparent connection. Judging by how Jax has gradually become a more well-rounded character, episode 5 is very likely to continue this trend. I'm not going to claim that Jax will get worse, sink into depression, or, even less likely, turn into an abstracted monster just for the sake of extra views. I can assure you that nothing like that will happen. However, it is a fact that Jax will become calmer, and it will be far more interesting to follow his development in episode 5. As for what will happen to him in episode 6, I can't say for sure, but given that episode 5 is described as the calm before the storm, it's quite possible that episode 6 will completely change our perception of not only Jax and Regatha, but also some other characters.